Now, to another story, there's been a bit of a reprieve. Expecting parents who have lost work because of lockdowns will not miss out on paid parental leave under proposed legislative changes to be introduced to Parliament today. It's a small but important announcement for so many. So joining me live now is the Minister for Families and Social Services, Anne Ruston. Anne Ruston, thanks so much for your time. You've moved now on this. How much is it going to cost, and is it just a simple change in legislation that you hope to pass today?
Well, look, it is a very simple change, and we're very hopeful that we'll be able to get it through the lower house in the next couple of days and into the Senate next week, so that we can get on with making sure that women who would otherwise have been eligible to receive paid parental leave, but because of the lockdowns haven't been able to, will now be able to get access to the paid parental leave by virtue of the fact that if they have a COVID disaster payment, that'll count towards their work test. We don't. There is no cost associated with this measure, because these women would have otherwise have been eligible, and it's merely been because of the lockdowns that they haven't been able to, or possibly weren't able to reach their work test. So we're very confident that it'll be simple and easy, and hopefully universally supported when it goes through this place.
It makes perfect logical sense. How many women do you expect this to affect?
Well, we've estimated in New South Wales alone, because of the lockdowns, that probably 14,000 families are likely to benefit from this change. We don't have that extrapolated out across the country, because we're not actually sure of how many families are expecting a baby at the moment. But it will help anybody who is currently on a COVID disaster payment, who otherwise would have missed out, will now be eligible.
Okay, as I said, it seems to make sense. I can't see Labor opposing this in any way when the legislation does reach the Senate. But before I let you go, I want to look at more broadly the payments that you've been able to give, the safety net you've been able to provide Australians. But some, and you know how difficult the process can be, how complex it is, and you're rushing to put in these payments. Are you really going to claw back some of these payments that were given erroneously?
Look, one of the things that we are still focusing on at the moment is making sure that we provide the support across the lockdown areas that people are needing, because, I mean, clearly it's a very difficult time in New South Wales and Victoria, and here in the ACT as well. But the underpinning principle of our welfare system remains the same, that we want to make sure that people are receiving the payments that they're eligible for, and no more and no less. But right now our focus has to be on supporting those people that are in lockdown, and so that's where our focus absolutely is at the moment.
Yep, and there's millions of people, particularly in Victoria and Sydney, more broadly New South Wales, that are locked down at the moment. I know you've got a big women's summit coming up, and there is a bit of a, I guess you might say, a silent problem at the moment. Domestic violence obviously hasn't gone away. Do you have a read on whether that situation has got any worse or better in lockdown?
Look, the statistics that we're getting in and the data that we're getting in from our frontline service providers are that we have seen an increase in domestic, family and sexual violence during the lockdowns, because people have obviously been locked at home, because most often the perpetrator of the violence is an intimate partner. So yes, we have seen an increase, and that's why we made sure that we provided the additional funding to the states and territories, $130 million last year, and we've got $260 million that we will make available to the states and territories over the next 2 years. But we do need to continue, obviously, providing the support for response. But the most important thing that we need to do in parallel to providing response is early intervention and prevention, and that's why the summit and the information that's going to be contained in the next national plan to end violence against women and their children is just so important.
Indeed, and I look forward to that. Anne Ruston, we'll have to leave it there today. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Laura.